If you've ever thought about starting your own ATM business, then this is the video you're going to want to watch. I've been in the ATM business for a while now, and I usually get asked a whole bunch of different questions about the ATM business. So in this video, we're going to cover some of the most frequently asked questions to give you a broad overview of just what you can expect by owning and starting your own ATM business. Hi everyone, my name is Ben, and this channel is dedicated to all things personal finance, helping you earn more, spend less, and invest the difference. Now today, like I said, we're going to be talking about ATMs, which is one of my favorite side hustles, is owning your own ATM business. Now let's not waste any more time, let's get straight to the good stuff. Let's talk about frequently asked question number one. So typically the first question that I usually get asked by people is there any kind of crazy requirements that I have to meet before I can start this business? Like, do I have to have a company set up? Do I need to have any kind of special licensing or certificates or anything like that? And the answer, surprisingly, is no. I mean, theoretically, if you wanted to start your own official company, if you wanted to start an LLC or something like that, you could, but it's not required. And surprisingly, there is no licensing or certificates or any kind of training that you need in order to start this business. So unlike being a real estate agent, right, like you got to be licensed by the state that you're operating in, you got to take a class and go through certain hoops to be a real estate agent. There is nothing to be an owner of an ATM business. And the second question that I usually get asked is, well, how do you make money operating ATMs? Well, if you've ever gone to an ATM, at least one that's outside of your particular bank institution, you'll know that you get charged a transaction fee, right? There's a fee that you get charged on top of whatever amount of money that you pull out. Usually that ranges anywhere from about $3 to $5. Sometimes it's even more. So hypothetically, if you wanted to withdraw $20 and there was a $3 transaction fee, your bank account would subtract $23 from your bank account. The ATM machine would spit out $20 in cash to you, and the $3 would go to me as the operator. Now, there may be a few tweaks to that $3, and we'll get to that later on, but for the purpose of keeping it simple here for frequently asked question number two, that money would go to me. So question number three, how much money can you realistically make by owning ATMs? Well, just like in the real estate business, the key phrase is location, location, location. Same rules apply in the ATM business. The individual location is going to highly dictate how much money you make with that ATM. Some ATMs make a ton of money every month and some just make a little bit. But on average, nationwide, the average ATM get used somewhere between 6 to 10 times per day. So if we just assume that you have sort of an average location and you're getting 8 transactions per day, at $3 a transaction, that means that ATM is generating $24 a day. $24 a day times about 30 days in a month. That means that ATM is generating roughly $720 a month in fees, and the majority of that money is going to go directly to you. Frequently asked question number four, why get into ATMs as opposed to anything else? Why do ATMs instead of investing in some sort of other side hustle? And the answer to that, honestly, is because ATMs make a boatload of money. The return on investment, your ROI for owning and operating ATMs, is ridiculous. I mean, you're simply not going to get these types of returns in real estate or in the stock market or pretty much any other type of investment. You make large amounts of money in the ATM business. And it's super easy to maintain this type of a business. So some people might ask me, well, why don't you get into like the soda, the vending machines, the candy bars and pop and all that kind of stuff? Like, why don't you get those type of machines instead of ATMs? And if you really stop and think about it, if you're trying to refill a soda machine or a candy machine with pretzels and Kit Kat bars and all that kind of stuff, like you got to have a lot of supplies. It's just bulky carrying around all of those cans of Coke and Pepsi and Kit Kat bars and all that kind of stuff, right? Like you got to go to the store, you got to buy each individual item, you got to carry all of this stuff to each location, and it's just very cumbersome. It's really easy to carry large stacks of bills where it's super easy. You just go to the bank, make a withdrawal, take it, drop it off the ATM, you're done. It's just convenient. And then people start thinking, well, okay, sounds like you can make a lot of money and it's relatively easy, so how much money do I need in order to get started with all of this stuff? There's got to be some startup costs, right? Well, yes and no. So in this part, we're going to kind of break it down into a couple of different options for you guys, all right? So hypothetically, if you're just starting out and you have no money to your name, you're broke, you can get started for $0 out of pocket. So hypothetically, there are companies out there that will give you the ATM machine for free. They'll even give you the money to put inside of the ATM. But if that's the case, they're doing a lot of the work, they're taking a lot of the risk, and so in cases like that, they will take a portion of every transaction that you're doing. So if it's a $3 transaction fee, you're not going to get to keep that whole $3. That's how they are going to recoup their money for giving you this free ATM and all that kind of stuff. They're going to take an ongoing cut of every single transaction from now until eternity. So while it may be a great way to get started right off the bat, in the long run, that turns into a super expensive option simply because you're consistently giving them a cut of your profit forever. Alternatively, if you have enough money, you can just simply go and buy your ATM machine outright, and then you own it. There is no fees. There is no recurring, fees that you got to give to anybody else, at least not if you don't want to. Now, ATMs are decently priced. You can usually get a new model shipped directly to you, shipped and installed and all that kind of stuff for roughly $2,500 depending on who you buy it from. So if you have that kind of money, I highly suggest you actually buy the machine yourself. That way you own 100% of it. You don't have to give anybody a portion of your profits. Now, it's true that you can buy used ATMs, typically for relatively cheap, but honestly, I don't recommend it. A couple of reasons. One, you don't necessarily know if the software inside those ATMs has been altered. Maybe it's got some sort of a malicious program in there where it can steal people's credit card numbers. You never know, people are crazy. Other than that, brand new machines come with a warranty, which you obviously wouldn't get a warranty if you bought used machines. And then the next thing is, if you're buying older machines, they may not be compliant with current standards. So back in about 2012, some of the standards for Americans with disabilities changed. Like, it had to be audio compliant, it had to be, certain height, it had to have certain functions, etc. So if they're old machines, they may not be compliant. Now, some of the more recent changes is like the chip technology, right? It has to be able to use and detect that EDV chip. So you can't just swipe your credit card anymore, you have to actually insert it, right? So some of these older machines, they may not be compliant anymore. So I would always recommend buying new, even though they are a little bit more expensive, obviously. Now, obviously, there is more cost than just the initial buying of the machine. You have to have some money to actually put inside the machine. Now, how much money you decide to put inside the machine is completely up to you. The less that you put inside of the machine, obviously, the more often you need to go to that location to refill that machine. So then it kind of becomes a balancing act, right? Like, how many times do you want to get in your car and drive out there and actually refill it? Do you want to do it every couple of days or maybe every week or something like that if you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of cash on hand? Or once you progress a little bit and you've built up your reserves, you've got enough money, maybe you want to stick like a month's supply in there or 2 weeks supply. That way you only have to do your rounds once a month, and it just saves you a lot of time. Next question is, what sort of ongoing fees or ongoing expenses do you have with owning this company? And the answer is not much. If you're buying your machine new, most machines come with a 1 or 2 year warranty, so if something breaks, they're going to come out and they're going to fix it for nothing. But other than that, there's really not a whole lot of moving parts to an ATM machine, so these things last a ridiculously long time. Like, they can spit out millions of bills over the course of their lifetime and probably not break down at all. Even if they do break down, whatever company provided you with that ATM machine, they're going to have a 1-800 number where you can call somebody and they'll come out and fix it. But most things like a stuck bill or something like that, you can easily replace and repair yourself. Other than that, honestly, your biggest monthly expense and ongoing expense is just wear and tear and gas on your car as you go out and travel to all of these different locations to refill them with money. But just keep in mind now that you are a small business owner, and so any kind of expenses that you have are now suddenly tax deductible. So any kind of mileage that you drive, you can deduct that from your taxes. If you need GPS and your cell phone to get to the various locations, you can suddenly start deducting a portion of your cell phone and your cell phone data plan as a tax deduction, your car insurance, like pretty much anything associated with all of that stuff now suddenly becomes a tax deduction. So keep that in mind. Even though it is an ongoing expense, it really doesn't cost you much because you can just claim it on your taxes. Next question is, well, this sounds pretty good so far. How do you actually get a signed up location? Like, what do you got to do in order to get an ATM inside of a store? Well, honestly, this is where you're just going to use your people skills. So you're just going to go and preferably drive around town, talk to people in person, or potentially just give them a call on the phone or something like that. And you're going to walk into the store and you're just going to ask to speak to the manager or the store owner in regards to placing an ATM inside of their store. Now, some places are going to be thrilled just to have an ATM inside the store. You know, they've maybe wanted an ATM for a while. They just haven't, known how to go about getting one. They want to provide additional services to their customers. So some places are more than happy to allow you to put an ATM machine in their store for free. And this can especially be true for a lot of cash-based businesses that would otherwise be swiping a credit card, because every time a customer swipes a credit card, the Visa or MasterCard or whoever, usually they charge that merchant about 3% of that total transaction. So hypothetically, if you place an ATM inside of a barber shop and typically customers swipe their credit card and pay for like a $20 haircut with a credit card, the Visa network is charging that barber 3% of that $20 transaction. So they're charging the barber basically 60 cents every time somebody uses a credit card. So theoretically, if instead some of those customers would just go to the ATM and pull out cash instead of swiping that card, that would save the barber 60 cents per haircut. So sometimes people love ATMs in their shops. They'll give it to you for free. They won't charge you anything to put an ATM in there simply because they're going to get charged less of those transaction fees by the credit card networks. Some of the best places to actually put an ATM are places like strip clubs, bars, nightclubs, nail salons, barber shops, different sporting events or outdoor events. If there's locations that frequently host things, maybe like flea markets or something like that. Bottom line, get creative, get in your car and actually go talk to people. One of the best ways that I've found to get new customers signed up is just go to Google and type in new businesses near me. And it'll usually bring you to some sort of a website that lists a bunch of new businesses that have opened in and around your area, or businesses that will soon be opening. And this is very important because if they've just opened or they haven't opened just yet, then chances are they don't already have an ATM machine in that location. Like, nobody has beaten you to the punch. So this could be a fantastic place to start. And then the next question is, well, that's great that some business owners are more than happy to just let you put a machine in there for free, but what if they want some sort of a compensation? How does that work? So more often than not, the majority of my ATM locations, I pay the store owner a small percentage of that overall transaction fee. That way it incentivizes the store owner to actually allow me to put my machine inside their store. At the end of the day, it has to be a win-win situation, right? I'm winning because I got a new customer signed up where I've got a new ATM location placed. The store owner also has to find some way to win. It needs to be beneficial for them in order to actually let you do this, right? So more often than not, my average is roughly about 25% of the overall transaction fee. I give that to the store owner. So hypothetically, if I charged you as the customer a $3 transaction fee every time you use that ATM, I would keep 75% of the money, and 25% of that money would go directly to the store owner. So I would make $2.25, the store owner would make 75 cents every time somebody used that ATM. So typically if the store owner is getting a cut of the profits, then how much profit is left for you at the end of the day? Well, now obviously, like I said, location varies significantly. Some of my ATMs, they only make about 150 or 200 bucks a month in profit for me. That's after I've paid the store owner. Some of my other locations are super amazing and they make well over $1,000 a month. On average, I would say somewhere between $300 to $500 a month in profit for you is pretty standard. Now, if we just assume $400 a month, that's roughly $4,800 per machine per year. So if you had 10 machines, that would be close to $50,000 a year just to own and operate 10 ATMs. Like, that might only take you a couple of hours a month to go around and do your loop for your ATMs. Next question. I mean, how does an ATM actually work? Like, how does it communicate with the banks? So, I mean, realistically, it's nothing more than just simply connected to the internet. There is no fancy connection or anything like that. Now, if the particular store already has internet or Wi-Fi or something like that right there in the store, that's perfect, that's fantastic. You can just run an Ethernet cord directly into the router, into the back of your ATM machine, and that'll get it up and running. If they have Wi-Fi, like realistically most places have Wi-Fi, a lot of the newer ATMs can connect to Wi-Fi networks, so you can just hook it up that way. And if the store just doesn't have anything, they don't have any kind of internet, you can get a DSL box. It's basically a little box that will provide you access to the internet, and that might cost you just a couple of bucks a month just to, sort of get internet access to your ATM. Next question, contracts. Yes, every time you sign up a new customer, a new client, you get a new store location, you want to sign a contract with that store owner that's going to detail all of the terms of agreement. Now, in the show notes, in the little area down here, I will provide a sample contract for you guys. Now, obviously, this is a sample. You can edit this, you can do whatever you want. And in fact, I highly encourage you to edit it. You want to make sure that it's beneficial to you. You can put literally any verbiage that you want inside of this contract as long as you and the store owner agree to it. You can put any terms that you want in this contract. In fact, I have one store location that was super far away, and I didn't want to drive out there to refill at this particular location. Most of my ATMs are relatively close together, and then this particular location was super far away. So I actually wrote it into the contract that the store owner would be responsible for putting money into the ATM. They would be responsible for restocking it. And in that case, I just gave the store owner a significantly larger cut of the transaction fee. It worked out for me because at that point, other than just simply buying and installing the ATM, I'm literally not doing anything except collecting a paycheck for that ATM. And the last question is, how much time and effort does it really take to maintain your business? And the honest answer is not a whole lot, especially if you're putting enough money into the ATM where you only have to go out and refill your ATMs maybe once every 2 weeks or once a month or something like that. So personally, I'm at the point where I only have to put money into my ATMs about once a month. I just load it up with plenty of money that it should be fine. And so once a month I get in my car and I drive around to my locations. It takes me a handful of hours. And then other than that, that's it. The rest of the time, the other 29 days out of the month, it's strictly passive income where I'm getting a check every time you swipe your credit card. Oh, and one more thing that I guess I forgot to mention is security. Now, obviously, when you're going around and filling up these machines, you're carrying around thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in cash with you. So you always want to be careful, all right? So personally, I'm always carrying a weapon with me when I go to these locations. I've never had any issues, but it's always better to be safe then sorry. So I am always using a concealed carry when I go and make these deposits into my ATM, and I actually open it up and put more money in. Besides that, I would highly recommend varying the times that you actually go and deposit. So never make it super regular. So never always go on the first of the month at 11 a.m. and refill this ATM machine, because then you can be targeted by people that consistently see you come at certain times of the day or certain times of the week, or whatever the case may be. They might get it in their head to just plan the next time that you show up. And other than that, obviously you're going to want to try to do all of the loading of your ATMs during the slowest period of the day for that particular business. So for example, if you have busy restaurants or bars or nightclubs or something like that, like you wouldn't want to go to the nightclub at 11 p.m. when the place is popping on a Friday night. You would want to go in the middle of the day before they even maybe open to the general public, when nobody is inside, and that's the time that you would want to refill that machine. But otherwise, I've never had any security problems. I've never been robbed. I've never been confronted or anything like that. Usually it's pretty safe, but like I said, you always want to be careful because you are carrying around large sums of money at this point. So that's going to be it for us today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. Be sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and as always, I'll see you all again next time.